I come to you to present you with one of the stupidest sagas that maybe I've ever seen. I've said that like 4 times this week. It's going to start to lose authenticity, but I'm serious. This is incredibly dumb. It involves the Indian Football Federation, Xavi, and Pep Guardiola. Because initially, and maybe you were not alone in this, or maybe I wasn't alone in this, I saw some headlines pop up that really kind of pissed me off. Right? Xavi had expressed interest in the head coaching job of the Indian national team, which is open. The head coach of the Indian national team left to take a club job, and that spot is open heading into Asian qualifiers. India is, I would say, like 40 years behind the United States in terms of football development, but it is at least on the track of trying to develop football more. And as everybody seems to know, they have a big sporting infrastructure and a few people. They got a few people there, right? And if they could just direct all that money that goes into developing their cricket, the same way that the United States needs to direct all its money that is, developing NFL and NBA players, right? There is that sporting infrastructure there to go out and develop talented athletes. So maybe, when I saw the headline, maybe Xavi wanted to be a part of that. And what better break after having such a sour exit with Barcelona than to go to the other side of the world in a place that's going to worship you and embrace you as this superstar that's come to save them and try to do something good for the Indian national team. At least if I was Xavi, that's something that I would want to do. But the way that the story broke was not that Xavi had expressed interest and conversations were ongoing. It was that Xavi had applied for the job, basically thrown his hat in the ring, and had been turned down by the Indian Football Federation. I'm not making this up, right? This is from the Times of India, right? I've also got the Hindustan Times queued up. This was big news in India, in Indian sporting circles. The technical committee of the All India Federation rubbed their eyes in disbelief when they saw the long list of candidates for the job, and they list a bunch of people. And then they point out at the bottom of the list, prepared by the national team director, Subrata Paul, there was Xavi Hernandez. He was marked in green. The former Barcelona coach and legend, someone who had made more than 700 appearances for the Spanish Giants, was shown to have sent an application from his own email ID. Unlike other applications, the contact number was blank. It's correct that Xavi's name was there, Subrata Paul told the Times of India. The application was emailed to the Indian Football Federation. So basically the way it works is these federations, they post their job openings, and if you are a coach that's interested, you can reach out. And Xavi had essentially quietly reached out and said, here's my application, here's what I've done from his personal email account. But this is the part that pisses me off, right? According to sources, the technical committee did not consider Xavi for the final shortlist due to the high financial cost. Dude, brother. If a coach like Xavi is interested in coaching the Indian national team, you sell whatever you have to sell to get them in. Because the notoriety alone, the notoriety of just even having these sorts of articles come out that Xavi's interested in coaching India helps the team. Actually bringing in somebody like Xavi, who played at the very highest level, right, who is coached at the very highest level of the game, is clearly a good coach. Bringing somebody like that in would be a coup. It would be a light year warp speed jump forward for the Indian national team if you could bring him in. This is an infuriating. If I was an Indian football fan, right, if I'm somebody that was in the U.S. 30, 40 years ago that's trying to grow soccer, that's trying to get more people interested in football, that's trying to make something happen, right? And you hear this, you got to lose a little hope. You lose a little hope because you're begging for something like this to fall into your lap, for somebody like Xavi to show up and actually want to coach your team, and now they're saying that they wouldn't have the money. Even if Xavi was genuinely interested in Indian football and could be convinced to take up the job, we would need a lot of money, said a member of the technical committee who attended the virtual meeting on Wednesday. I mean, you have a member of the technical committee saying, well, he would need a lot of money. We're kind of looking for a bargain head coach. If you really want to grow the game, if you really want to get India out of the group stage in an Asian Cup, competing at the top level of Asian World Cup qualifying, because India hasn't been close to the World Cup in 100 years, or 80 years, 85 years. They haven't been close to the World Cup in that long. right? And you're trying, I would assume they have been, because the team has gotten better. They're hosting international tournaments. They made the Asian Cup, even though they didn't make it out of the group stage. They won a game at the Asian Cup, which is a huge step forward for an Indian national team that is now light years better than Bangladesh, than Pakistan, than Sri Lanka, than these other South Asian nations that are still stuck in the football stone age, right? India's leapt forward from that. You need to, at some point, get the money out on the table, put it on the damn table, and make something happen. And this story made sense as well, because Xavi has said that he sometimes follows the Indian League because there are many Spanish coaches there. That was in an interview with The Athletic that's cited here by the Times of India. So Xavi's application made complete sense. But apparently it was fake. So now we've got, this is an article from The Guardian, right? That points out the fact that this application from Xavi, and they go one further. They actually go one further. BBC wrote an article on this as well. It wasn't just Xavi that popped up on their list. Apparently, it was Xavi and Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola was also on their list. The AIFF received an email furnishing the applications from Spanish coaches Pep Guardiola and Xavi. The authenticity of their applications could not be confirmed, and it has since emerged that the email applications were not genuine. Essentially, somebody hacked the application process and fabricated applications from big coaches. Now, Xavi, at least because of that interview with The Athletic, and the fact that, I don't know, he's not coaching one of the biggest clubs in the world right now, that one kind of made sense. But the Pep Guardiola one, come on, man. Come on. Somebody in that technical committee, the moment that Pep Guardiola application popped up on the 170-person application list for the job, somebody should have gone, all right, everybody. Clearly, there's something wrong with the process, because if India actually managed to steal Pep Guardiola from Manchester City to be their coach, they would have to give him the country of India in order to make that happen. But here's what I think actually went down, right? Obviously, it came out, the AIFF, the Indian Federation, has come out and very immediately said that they didn't immediately say this. This took a couple days, but they came out and said that the Xavi stuff was not real. I think they might have faked it on purpose. I have zero proof of this, but hear me out. Okay, Xavi and his potential interest in the Indian national team was a headline that popped up on my phone. It was an interesting headline that popped up, obviously, all over India and beyond, because I got a literal push notification on my phone about Xavi being interested in coaching the Indian national team. I said earlier in this video that having somebody like Xavi at least be interested is going to create momentum and interest and just elevate the Indian national team in some way. I think that's what they did. And I think maybe even the reason that they sat there and they were like, well, financially, we just don't know how we're going to be able to make this work. They never said that they were interviewing. They never said that they were accepting it. They just said that Xavi had expressed initial interest in the job, and we turned it down. I smell something fishy, right? Because they got a lot of free press about the fact that the head coaching job of India is open. A lot of interest, a lot of intrigue in the fact that the head coaching job of India is open. Just based off the fact that Xavi was allegedly interested in the post in the first place. So I think something fishy might have been going on there. But maybe the broadest thing to take away is I made a video, I think it was yesterday, the day before, about the head coach of Cameroon, whose email was basically hacked and somebody attempted to resign for him, at least according to the official story. Right? Somebody hacked his email and sent in a resignation letter to the Cameroonian FA. Now we have somebody sending in an application from Xavi's personal email ID. I mean, I don't know what that personal email ID is. I don't know why. Maybe it's some sort of FIFA portal that's linked to Xavi that might have been hacked, or they managed to present it in a way where the Indian FA thought it was true. These managers need to do a better job of keeping track of their damn email. I mean, are all these guys just falling for phishing scams, or whether it's Xavi or the Indian FA or both? We need some technologically literate people involved in this process, right? Whether it was nefarious or not, we now have the entire technical committee of India considering the possibility that Xavi has applied to be their head coach and that they might just not have the money to hire him. Also, by the way, apparently Pep Guardiola's applied to be the head coach of India. I think India should try to splash for a new head coach. I think that's something that if you were a developing national team like India, you should do. But you should probably make sure the application is real first. That would be wise.